Hey everyone, welcome to Module 8. We're going to be starting with reformatting your serial for a retailer release. I do this for every single one of my serials. It really maximizes my profit, my revenue, and helps me find more readers because the material is already written. I want to share it with as many people as possible. You have a serial that you've written that you want to release on a retailer. How do you do this? There's a few different things we'll go over. You have cliffhangers in your serial. If you've written them and structured it as a serial, you're going to have cliffhangers, and then there's gonna be a lot of them. I'm gonna tell you, you can keep those cliffhangers in your book when you're reformatting it. The cliffhangers help your reader get from chapter 1 to chapter 2 because they're left in suspense, they need to know what's going to happen. You want your readers to continue to read from chapter 1 to chapter 2 in your book too. So if you have that cliffhanger, it's going to help leave them in suspense and wanting them to move forward more and more. You do not want your readers to put the book down, especially if you are in programs like KU. You want them to read as many pages as possible. If they put their book down, people do that all the time, but sometimes people don't pick the book up. So if you can get them to read the entire book in one sitting as a book and not a serial, that is going to be great for you. And if you have that cliffhanger at the end of the book and you already have book 2 up for pre-order or maybe it's released already, it's going to help read through from book 1 to book 2 as well. Next, if you don't have descriptions in your serial, or you don't have many, or they're not deep enough, you should maybe think about adding some. Retailer readers, they have a little bit different expectations than serial readers. We've talked about before. Serial readers are really looking for those short, snappy chapters that are packed with a lot of drama, packed with a lot of action. They don't really care about what the character looks like, what they're wearing, unless it's really important. They don't care about setting, whatever it is. They just want that drama. They want to continue to be pushed and pulled in all these different directions. Retailer readers are expecting something a little bit different, a little bit more traditional, where you are taking your time to describe the scene, describe the characters, and the plot in a little bit more detail. And so if you don't have any descriptions in your chapters, I would suggest expanding them a little bit more. So your serial chapters might be about, I don't know, we'll say they're 1,000 words long. Add some dis- 500 words to that chapter, make a description, um, and it will help you when your serial is being released as a book. And adding story description or some description to the story is going to make it feel a little bit more alive to readers who read solely on retailers. These readers are not necessarily looking for nonstop drama. Some of them are. And if you write high drama, high action, that's completely fine. I'm not saying don't do that. But some of those readers would prefer if you took time to slow down and bring that story to life a little bit more for them. Next, you have 99 problems in your serial. You have all these problems that are happening. You don't need that many in your book. So when you're reformatting, what you want to do is look for that one overarching problem that is going on in that season and make sure that you are focusing on that problem throughout the book. Problems and threads are really great for serial releases, but not so much for retailers. And if you can, cut back on the number of problems per book, really focus on one or two. You can have those small little threads throughout that are like smaller problems, but there should be one or two big problems that your characters are facing because your readers don't want to spend time keeping track of all of these small problems that might not really matter to that specific book. Multiple characters. So this is going to be very dependent on your genre. For multiple characters in I'm gonna give the example of romance. So you have multiple characters and multiple couples. They should each get their own book. Again, for the most part, they should each get their own book when you're releasing it on a retailer. Serial releases, like we talked about in the previous slide, you could have all these different problems, and you could have all these different couples that have all these different problems. But having that big of a cast for one book on a retailer is going to become too much for people to think about, and they'd rather focus on one specific couple for that book. Book 2 is the next couple. Book 3 is the couple after that. This is different for each genre, especially if you're writing fantasy. You might need that big cast, and that's completely fine. So it's really genre dependent. And when you are making your serial into a retailer release, like a book, you're going to have to take all these factors specifically for your genre and the tropes you write and your brands and think through them before you make any decisions on how to change your book. Great. I understand how to structure it now. What should I do? So you're going to have 3 steps that you do to officially restructure your serial into a novel. So you're going to once it's edited and based on those previous things we talked about, you're going to reformat your serial so it looks like a novel. And you'll use formatting software like Vellum maybe. Then you're going to release it onto the retailer. And what is a little bit different than a normal release is you're going to mention it to your serial fans. And you're not going to mention it in a way like, "Hey, buy my book, it's available." Chances are they've already paid you a lot, maybe hundreds of dollars to read your one serial. You don't necessarily wanna ask them, "Hey, can you pay again?" But what they can do is since they read your serial, they can leave a review. So you could have them on your review team. Chances are, if they read the whole serial, they enjoyed your story a lot. They'll be great for those initial reviews in the very beginning. Some people might want paperbacks. You might have some character art that you're releasing along the same time. And those fans may want those physical goods. And chances are, if they again have been with you all this time while you're releasing your serial, they're going to be fans of you and part of your community. So they wanna support you any way that they can. So make sure you tell them, "Hey, my book is releasing," and you don't have to push any for them to pay you at all. Just give them the option of supporting you further, and that's all, and that might not look like, anything monetary. But those are my few tips on how to reformat a serial and make it into a novel. You don't have to take anything I said. I know when I make my serials and put them into novels, I barely do any reformatting or editing just because a lot of my serials are book length. And so there's not really much cutting I have to do. They're like a serial written as if it were a book. Pick and choose what you want to change, what you think needs change for your brand. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this section and I will see you in the next one.